Hey, it's John McCabe. Welcome to the show. Hey, welcome to the John A. McCabe Show, where it's all about accelerating your authority in your business or field of expertise. And I do that by helping entrepreneurs, business owners, authors, experts, and speakers get seen, get heard, get noticed on any device, anywhere, anytime, in as little as 15 hours worth of effort, also known as the Authority Acceleration Blueprint. Now on today's show, Hot Seat Coaching Thursday, I'm going to share with you a little bit about building your story of authority for your business. Now, building your authority story is really like a three-legged stool or a positioning tripod. You need to have all three critical elements of your story in order for you to truly resonate with your audience and for you to differentiate yourself in your marketplace. Now, it's this message that will connect your audience or your ideal target market to you, to your business, your product, and your service. So building your authority story is very important when it comes to the foundation of your messages moving forward in your business. Now, so many businesses and entrepreneurs don't go through this process and end up struggling and chasing clients in order to survive. By taking the time to build the foundation of your marketing message and using the stories and the messages throughout your marketing materials, your videos, your blogs, your posts, and everything that you put out to the public, you'll start to connect with the types of people you want to attract as clients and repel the types that you don't want to work with in your business. Now, your authority story is really the story that will tell about yourself and about your business that causes people to get engaged and be interested in what you have to say. Now, that's an important part of the positioning yourself as the authority, so that people understand why you're telling your story, what they can learn, and what you've got to share with them. So when you're going through this positioning tripod, it can be difficult and challenging, as there's lots of questions or parts of the story that take you outside of your comfort zone. See, here's the thing. If it were inside your comfort zone, you would already have the information and already be using it, because most of us like to stay and play inside our own comfort zone. Now, going through a process like this and focusing on your business and your message will give you the clarity and help you understand what makes you unique, which in turn will allow you to focus and monetize what you do at the highest levels. So be sure to stick around, because when I come back, we're going to go through the process of building your authority story. Hey, welcome back, and thanks for joining me today on Hot Seat Coaching Thursday. I don't have a guest for you today, but I do have a great informative show where you're going to learn what it takes to build your story of authority. Now, basically, this boils down to who are you and why should I listen to you? That's what the marketplace is saying when they get marketing messages and they hear and see things from all your communications that you're putting out there, whether it be high-end stuff like TV and radio, or whether it's stuff on Facebook or Twitter or Pinterest or Instagram, or you're delivering flyers, things like that. So why people want to know who are you and why they should listen to you. As I've said many times, you're in the media business, and you need to capture other people's attention. So you need to cut through a lot of the clutter and really try to connect and resonate with your audience or your ideal target market and get them to pay attention to you. Now, there's no better way to do this than with storytelling. Because if you think about it, this is how knowledge and wisdom was passed down over time. Also the books that you read, or the shows or the movies that you watch, and even the video clips that move you the most are the ones that tell compelling stories that really resonate with you. Now, some of the ones that have the biggest impact with us are what we call the hero stories, or the ones that show a transformation. Now, stories allow people to make sense of the world and see meaning in a lot of different things. People find it tremendously valuable listening to stories, because it allows you to show a lesson or an example, but do it in the context of real life people, so they can see how it applies. A great example of this would be in children's stories, because what they do is they take a learning lesson and wrap it in an interesting story. Now, believe it or not, adults are just as passionate and interested in hearing stories as children are, because so many are born in their cultures where stories play an important role in learning. Now, if you look at some of the top self-development and business books on the marketplace, so many of them are written in kind of a novel format. A great example is the Rich Dad Poor Dad book, which is one of the most top-selling business books in the last decade. And it's written more of as a novel kind of a story than it is all about facts and figures and the typical real estate investing. The point is, people do business with people, not with companies or products, especially in today's connected world. However, with the advent of all the social media platforms, text messaging, voicemail, people are actually feeling more disconnected than ever. And at the end of the day, people are looking for someone to actually believe in, whether it be leaders in politics or sports or business. In many markets, people are desperately seeking a leader. Most people want to just follow somebody else. It's just the way most people are built. So that's your opportunity to step up, share your talent, and lead people to their desired outcome. Because that's really what your business is all about. It's getting people to their desired outcome. So when it comes to crafting your story of authority, a story is a struggle. It's really a struggle of, that inspires people to believe in themselves. And when you can show people that you've been through a lot of the same struggles that they have, some of the tribulations that people have gone through, when you can show that you've gone through a lot of the same things, that really allows people to believe in you. Now, this isn't about you telling a story so people feel sorry for you or somehow not being authentic or trying to manipulate people. It's just about showing people where you come from, why you're human, and giving them a sense of relation to you. Now, this is very powerful because you want people to be able to relate to you with respect to the story that you're telling them and the business or the service or the product that you're offering them. Now, when it comes to creating a story of authority, there are really three specific keys to the story, three things that you need to take into consideration. The first piece of creating a story of authority is what's known as your story of struggles, also known as the kryptonite story. This contains all the challenges or failures that you've gone through in your life. You're going to be, think about some of the more challenging things and likely the emotional challenges that you've had in your life. These make for really powerful stories. And by introducing a lot of the emotional aspect around these challenges, the emotions that you had, that you were going through as you were failing or as you were having these challenges, is really what's going to connect with your audience or your ideal target market. Now, the second piece is all about your credibility. Now, this is really where you've come where you've come from in spite of all your challenges. What you want here is to start, kind of stacking the evidence of your authority and your credibility throughout the stories. You want to talk about some of your accomplishments that you've had and other things that you've done in your life that on the surface may not seem to be directly connected with your business, but what it demonstrates is your character and your credibility and your perseverance in your own personal ability. Now this is accomplishments and triumphs that you've had in your life, victories, things like that. So you want to sort of draw on a lot of that information, a lot of things that you've accomplished or had success in the past, even if it's not related to your business, but it really speaks to your character and your ability to be persevere in a variety of different circumstances. Now, the third piece is your unique or public persona. This is sort of how people perceive you. In this step, you really want to be deliberately resonate and connect with your ideal prospect. So you want to weave, a lot of this stuff you want to weave in the information. You want to weave this information into your stories regularly. And what this does is allow you to actually pre-qualify people that are in your sphere of influence, because not everybody is going to like your personal persona. Not everybody's going to want to, further that relationship or do business with you. And that's okay, because those are what end up being your problem clients, and for the most part anyway. So, what you want to do is you're trying to attract your ideal target market or the very best customer possible for you, and repel all the people that you don't want to actually do business with. Trying to keep them away, because those end up being your problem clients. If you think of the 80-20 rule, you spend 20% of your time, you spend 80% of your time on 20% of your clients, and typically that 20% of your clients are the problem clients that you spend the most of the time on. So by not attracting that type of client into your business to begin with is really what's going to help you be able to deliver and spend more quality time on the types of people that you want to do business with. Okay. So by being very clear on who you are, you also help other people identify and resonate with you, or decide that it isn't somebody that they really resonate with. And that's okay, because if they don't resonate with you, if they don't sort of get that connection, that's okay, because you really don't want to do business with them anyway, because there's just going to end up being a problem in most cases. And then and they're just going to move away. But that's okay, because it's actually good for you, because that means you're not going to spend a lot of time with them or waste any time trying to communicate and build that relationship with somebody that's not going to lead to any business anyway. So it's better off that they don't even come in and take your time, because it's just going to get all wasted and you're not going to really get any benefit from them. They're not going to buy your product or your service. So the goal here is sharing like memorable hooks, traits, elements about your life and your personal philosophy. It's also that another goal here is also that that all the people who follow you could actually repeat a lot of the similar stories. So a lot of the stories that you go through, a lot of the challenges that you've had and you've overcome, a lot of people are going to resonate with that, and they're probably going to see themselves in a lot of those stories. And so they want that transformation as well. They want to get to the other side. They're challenged and struggle with a lot of the same things that you have in the past, and they just want that solution to help them get to that desired outcome. So, a lot of this information that you're going to be sharing, your personal persona, is really going to connect with them, and they're going to see that you were able to, make it to the other side, for lack of a better term. So finally, it's really about, what you intend to have known. Now, this is about being deliberate, about communicating specific information to your marketplace. It's not just allowing yourself to randomly talk about different ideas. So you're going to be consistent and deliberate and intentional about what you communicate to your audience. And that's very key, because I keep going back to this on a regular basis. You're really wanting to build that foundation before you dig too far into your business. And a lot of people that have already in their business and they're struggling and they're challenging, a lot of it has to do with their message, because they're not clear on a lot of different things. So a lot of them aren't clear on who their ideal target market is. A lot of them aren't building their stories. They're a story of authority that's going to resonate with their audience. A lot of them aren't using that deliberate communication, bringing the emotion into the equation when you're delivering, the content out via either Facebook or Pinterest or Instagram or YouTube, by talking specifically to your ideal target market, because they don't know it. So all they're doing is just throwing stuff at the wall and hope something sticks. They're sending out a lot of information and just hope that it resonates with somebody, without actually having a structure, building that foundation. Because once you actually go through this process at the beginning and you build that foundation of your ideal target market, what is your authority story, how it's going to connect with that target market, who that target market is, what are their pains, fears, frustrations, and ambitions, how your stories relate to all of that stuff. And then using all of that material on a consistent, persistent basis, and pushing it out to the world through all of your marketing messages. Now that is building the foundation that you can grow and grow your business from and be very successful in making sure that you're attracting the right type of people into your business, that you're going to be able to build a strong relationship with them, and they're going to want to follow you as you're going through your business, or follow you as you're moving to the next level, or whatever it is, because they feel that you're the type of person that they want to actually do business with, or you're the type of person that can help them. Okay, so those are the three pieces that we're going to talk about in today's episode. Now, I guarantee that if you get clear in these three pieces and really think about them, being transparent, being authentic, that this may be some of the most important stuff you do in order to take your business to that next level. So pay close attention, take some notes, get some information, because this stuff is really, as I mentioned, I'm just going to I'm going to say this over and over. Every time I talk about messaging, every time I talk about ideal target market, every time I talk about you building your authority, it all boils down to having that solid foundation. So you're going to hear me say that throughout this entire episode, is what you're doing is building that foundation and building the messaging that you're going to use on a consistent and persistent basis in all of your material. So now we're going to get into what is called your story of struggle, or your kryptonite story, because now, like, connecting with your audience, so in other words, your target market is really important, is really an important part of being successful as an entrepreneur. So connecting with them, resonating with them, that's really important, because if you don't know who your ideal target market is, or you're not able to connect with them, then a lot of times you're going to be struggling to find clients or getting people to buy your products or services. So that's really what we're trying to do here with building your story of authority. We're not trying to force products or services onto people. We just want them to connect with you on a deeper level by using a good story and elements that make up a good story, so that you can create a lot of curiosity in your product or service, or a lot of interest. It's all about the storytelling. And a good model that I like to use is something called the superhero model. In other words, every superhero has a flaw, and people love superheroes because because of the nature of the story. So, for example, if you take Superman. Now, Superman is all powerful. He's one of those heroes that a lot of kids look up to as they're growing up. He represents all the things that most people aspire to be, good over evil, and he's also modest. But Superman has a weakness, and that one weakness, that one fatal flaw, and that's his kryptonite. And that's one of the reasons why a lot of people will call this your kryptonite story, because it represents the fact that everyone has a failure in life. Most people completely hide their failures and their weaknesses. I've done episodes in the past where all I did was I talked about all my failures and all my weaknesses, because a lot of times I used to hide behind stuff like that, like failures. But now it's like, it's part of me, it's part of my story. So getting that information out there is very important when you're building your story of authority. But the amazing thing is that that's actually what makes us human, is the fact that we fail, we learn, we eventually overcome and succeed. And that's what a lot of people like, is that sort of superhero, that hero model, or that story of transformation from how things used to be, and how the struggles and the frustrations, and how you came across the solution that worked for you, and you implemented it, and you saw success, and now you're out there helping other people do the same thing, that maybe have this similar challenges. So there's a tremendous strength in that sort of vulnerability. Is very powerful. Being transparent and talking about not just the awards you've won, or all the accomplishments, or how great you are, or being a guru. It's also about it's important to be transparent with a lot of the challenges that you've had, or the failures or tragedies that you've had in your life, because that's what leads to that sort of authentic connection, or people see you as, a real person and not somebody on a pedestal. If all somebody hears about is how great you are, it gets tiresome after time, and it almost seems like you never fail and you've never suffered, and people just are going to have a really hard time relating to you. So people always like to cheer for that underdog. Think about when you're flipping channels, even if you're not that engaged, but you come across a sports where one of the team is so far down, you start to watch the game, and then it gets really interesting as the underdog starts to come back, and you eventually you're cheering for that underdog. And a lot of times going into larger sporting events, people just like to cheer for the underdog, even though they may not have any connection to either team, but they just like to cheer for the underdog because they just like that sort of underdog story. Because everyone wants to see somebody who is not meant to succeed to overcome a lot of challenges to end up succeeding in the future. So as for you as an entrepreneur, it's chances are you've experienced a lot of these, and the hardest part is being willing to share your failures and your weaknesses. Like I said, for many years, I've sort of hidden a lot of my challenges, and I just would always talk about the great things. Some of them being, some of the failures were, starting other companies and partnerships not working out, things like that. Those are some failures and some businesses. Struggling with the real estate investing and being an introvert is part of, and not being able to pick up the phone and call people or knock on a door. So things like that. So, having people being able to relate to you, being vulnerable, bringing up those failures that you've had in the past, the challenges, and just making them part of your story, because everyone's going to root for the underdog. Everyone likes to see that transformation journey, that hero story. Most people will resonate with that. And so in going through that, you also want to share, what were some of the lessons that you learned in going through some of the challenges that you had to go through. So it's really important that people know this about you, not just your successes, but your achievement, not just your successes and your achievements, but also what challenges and trials and tribulations that you actually had to push through. What did you learn, and learn from each of those experiences, and you tell those in a story, because people really want to know that kind of stuff. Is how did you overcome that? So telling the story is really an incredible part. Whether you're a writer, speaker, author, entrepreneur, it doesn't really matter. Telling those stories of how you overcame those challenges somewhere in your marketing is very powerful to connecting with your audience and the story that you're trying to tell them. So that's part number one. Segment number one is your kryptonite story, or your story of challenges. I'm just going to I see a couple notes here. I just want to follow up, see if they actually have any relevance to what I'm talking about, or they're just comments. So see, Chris Miller joined us. Andy Lockwood says Superman. McCabe, really try Wonder Woman. Okay, thanks for that, Andy. Chris Miller, but I'm just a regular guy. No sensational story yet, but he's learning. So they don't have to be sensational stories. They're just stories of struggles that you've had in what it is that you do and how you actually overcame those challenges. And you can inspire people by just telling that story of, this is what my life was like prior. Here's the struggles and the challenges I had, and here's what I actually did to overcome those challenges. Here's what I implemented. Here's what I put together. here's how I made it happen. And then this is the result of me implementing a lot of those things, is that, you know, I generated more sales, or I became more successful, or whatever the end result is, whatever ends that transformation. And people like that story. And if they're the type of people that your ideal target market, and when you're telling this story, and this is very powerful. A lot of my private clients, I tell them this when they're going to get testimonials, or have people, you know, talk about their product or services. Don't just sit there and talk about, yeah, use Sally's waxing service. I can just hear Andy Lockwood now. Use Sally's bakery because Sally bakes the best cakes that I've ever tasted. No, it's like, tell a story about how Sally, how Sally struggled to, or tie a story. I got myself so confused because of worrying about what Andy Lockwood's going to say. But just telling stories of transformation. Actually, last week I had my one of my private clients on. We were doing a book launch for her, and she has a lot of great stories, transformational stories of testimonials from her clients, how they were in so much pain they couldn't even dress themselves. Their spouse had to dress them, and then they tried everything. They were on a lot of medication that just wasn't working, and they were introduced to my client, who has a light therapy unit that, you know, helps reduce the inflammation. After several sessions of using that home light therapy unit, they were able to, be pretty much pain-free, get off a lot of the medication, things like that. So that type of transformation story is going to resonate with somebody who is in a very similar situation, who is going through a lot of pain, and they've tried just about everything, and the doctor has them on these painkillers that are, you know, rotting their stomach or whatever. And just that transformation story is going to resonate with them. Well, you have your own transformation story with respect to your business, or what it is that you do. Why did you get into what it is you're doing? If you're just doing it just to make money or just for a job, that's not compelling enough, you know, story as to that's going to resonate with anybody. So you really need to bring in that vulnerability stuff. So it's really your kryptonite story, or what people have, how people can resonate with you from your struggles or your failures or challenges that you've had in the past. So the next thing we're going to talk about is creating your cluster of credibility. So all the credibility that you have, this is, you want to bring together and mention all of the things that you have credibility in, and make them part of your story. So triumphs, successes, victories, things you've won, awards, accolades, even if they're not related to your actual business, product, or service, it says a lot about you as an individual. So bringing it in as part of the story. Let's see, I just lost my spot here. Lost my notes. So the credibility for you comes from not just proven successes and experience and the results that you had in your business that you might be in now, or in a line of work that you specialize in, but also comes from all other successes and accomplishments that you've had in your life. So because it says a lot about you with respect to your character, the type of person that you are, the perseverances, because if you've had failures, you've had letdowns, then you also need to balance that off with all of your successes and all the credibility that you have. So here's the thing. I want you to think about the common values and beliefs, not just the skills and the experience that you've got in the specific business that you're in right now. Because take, for example, if you're new to the business that you're in now, or you're just starting out, but maybe you were in the corporate world for 15 years. Maybe you're venturing out into a consulting business and you're just starting a brand new consulting business. So you don't really have experience being a consultant, but you have 15, 20 years in the corporate world doing the exact same thing. So you have a lot, you can bring a lot of credibility even though you're just brand new in the consulting business. So what were those accomplishments that you had in the corporate world that translate and provide credibility to what you're doing today? You know, if you're an entrepreneur and your background is you used to work for big companies and you manage lots of people, that can be one of the skills or experience pieces that you have now that you can draw on into your new company. So you find all of the things that the credible things that you have done in your past, all the successes, the accolades, the triumphs, even if they don't directly relate to your business now, indirectly they do, because it demonstrates that you have some kind of value or belief or ability that really isn't about the kind of business, but the way that you actually deliver on a lot of these things. So, if you worked on a lot of projects in your past business that has nothing to do with what you're doing now, and you always deliver those products on time, on budget, that's very important. That's a very important quality when, let's say, you're in the consulting business and you're doing work for individuals. You always want, it's important to them that they get delivered on time and on budget. So having that credibility from that job is like, yeah, I manage these projects, these multi-million-dollar projects, and they were always on time, always on budget or under budget. That's a great quality that you can take and weave into your story. So your credibility cluster needs to be both qualitative and quantitative experiences. So both types count. In other words, qualitative would be some of the core values and the way that you've delivered in the past. The quantitative is more like actual measured results. Okay, so maybe things in the business today that you've been in for several years. You might have lots of testimonials or case studies from previous clients. They've gotten the kinds of results that you want to be able to deliver to your other customers. Whereas if you're just starting out in your business and you don't have a lot of quantitative proof, you can still get a lot of qualitative proof from the perspective of, perspective of maybe it's the people in the past that you used to work with, or that used to work with you, or that you work for as and let's say great things about you. Maybe it's testimonials from known authorities that are in your marketplace or your company. So credibility is huge, building that credibility. And if you're new to the industry and you don't have the credibility in that specific industry, borrow the credibility you've had or you've used, or the perseverance, that things that you've overcame, and the triumphs and the victories you've had in other aspects of your life, because those qualities say a lot about you as an individual, and you can use a lot of those qualities in your story when you're telling your story and building your story of authority. That you're known for delivering your projects on time and on budget on a regular basis. So that's pretty important. Chris Miller says, I'm getting my angle now, always been a giver. Now I got to pass that core value on in my pitch. Yeah. So Chris, it's important. The first thing is being aware of it, being aware of what you actually need to have when you're crafting your authority story. So having these three components, and then doing some actual work and figuring out what aspects you can bring to each one of these components. So the first one was your kryptonite story. So what struggles, challenges, have you had in the past? How does that story of transformation relate to you? The second part, the credibility cluster, you probably have bring lots to the table when it comes to things that you've done in the past, other positions, successes, triumphs, things that you've had to overcome, deliverabilities, things like that. So being aware of those as well. And then we'll get into the third part. That we'll talk about the third part, which is your public persona, crafting your public persona. So it's really going to be intertwining all three of these things into your messaging, when you're speaking to your ideal target market. And it's very important. We're not talking about it on this particular show, but it's very important to understand who your ideal target market is. I think I touched on that on previous episodes, getting crystal clear on their pains, fears, frustrations, and ambitions. So when you're crafting your message, it's going to actually relate to them. This is taking it to that next level, creating, now that you can relate to them, why do they want to do business with you? Now you need to craft your authority story so that there's a reason why they actually would do business with you versus everybody else. So your story, relating your story to who your ideal target market is and the message that you need to relate to them is very important in bringing it all together. So hopefully that helps. And the third piece is creating your public persona. And that means, who are you and what makes you unique? And you're using this to connect with your audience, so they must know, who you are. So people can get a sense, because people can really get a sense if you're actually being authentic or not. So you really want to be transparent and very deliberate in a lot of your communication. You want to be authentic. You want to be transparent with people, because the world has actually shifted, and the way that people receive messages and resonate with the messages that are out there, is they're resonating with people that they can see them as being truly authentic and transparent, and that are just like them. There's flaws, there's challenges that they've overcome. So I think the day of the guru being everything, all great and never having an issue, I think those days are behind us. We're really into, being able to relate to people, people just like you, or that you have feel that there's a relationship or a connection there. Okay, so being deliberate is really the most important key here. So you need to decide what you're going to communicate, and you need to be deliberate about it. And that makes your communication much more powerful because it becomes consistent. And I say this on a regular basis. You need to be consistent and then persistent on a regular basis with everything that you're doing. So when it comes to your messaging, you need to be consistent on a persistent basis with the actual messaging you're delivering on a regular basis, and how often you deliver that message. By choosing what information you'll purposely communicate, you're able to shape how people actually see you or perceive you. The characteristics and the values that you emphasize in your persona, that's what the market eventually starts to feel about you. It's a very powerful process. The bottom line is, this is the key thing for you to understand, is that a lot of people want to be loved by everybody. And unfortunately, for you to be a successful entrepreneur, you cannot fall for trying to make everybody happy. It's really impossible to do. I know I'm the type of guy that wants everybody to love me, but unfortunately you get clarity comes in a lot of times of when you're working with individuals and being very clear of, I want these people to love me, but these are not the type of people I want to do business with. So I need to make sure that I'm relaying that information in my messaging. So I'm being very crystal clear in the types of people that I want to do business with. And that comes out in the messaging that I'm delivering. So your persona needs to resonate and repel those certain people. In other words, the people that you want in your market, your ideal target market, you want to resonate with them very deeply and powerfully. And on the other hand, people that are not your ideal target market, you actually want them to either consciously or subconsciously be repelled by your persona. So they don't want to actually do business with you and waste your time. As I mentioned, 20% of the people will take up 80% of your time, and that's 20%, is the clients that you need to get rid of, and just focus on the other 80% that takes up 20% of your time. An example is one thing I struggle with, and I have challenges with. Okay, so some of the services that I offer are completely done for you services, and the reason why they're completely done for you, and obviously if they're completely done for you, they come at a price tag. So that price tag is you cannot, and the reason for the price tag is either one, you're way too busy of an entrepreneur or a business person to do all the things that need to get done, or any of the things that need to get done in order for this project to get completed. Or you do not have the technical capabilities to do a lot of these things to help me complete the project. So when it comes to the authority acceleration formula of, that starts out by doing a 1 hour live video, and then from that we prior to the live video, we make sure the messaging is correct. So doing some copywriting, understanding the ideal target market, what is the desired outcome of that 1 hour video, how to structure that 1 hour video, how to script it, so things like that. And then taking that 1 hour video and then chopping it up into segments, and then distributing those, as well as creating some blog articles and some articles, and then social media content. So there's a lot that goes on. So there's a lot of aspects of that people just don't have a clue about. And the reason why I do the done for you service is because I understand that a lot of people don't have either the technical capabilities to do that stuff, or the copywriting capabilities, or the understand the structure of how to do a lot of these things, which is why I've priced my program the way I have. And so what ends up happening is people come in and say, oh, I can't afford your services. I want your services, but I can't afford your services. So how about I do some of these tasks? And so I've let people do that. And what ends up happening is I always end up in the same place. Is I end up doing all the work because they don't know how to do any of the tasks that they said that they would do, or they take 10 times as long, and it's just there's a time crunch to the project, and it becomes very challenging. So I'm allowing those people, even though I know those are not the type of people I want. I want the people that want the services, that can afford my services and don't want to do anything. All my clients want the services and they don't want to do anything, but they can't afford my services. So I need to be much better at pushing those people away and attracting the people that can afford my services and are willing to invest the time into having it all done for them. Or attracting the people that have the capability to do it. They just don't know the strategy or what needs to get done, but they have the resources and the capability to go out and get it done themselves once they have a game plan or a blueprint. So those are the two types of people I want to attract: the ones that have the resources and they just need my guidance and they'll go get it done. And the other type are the ones that just want it done for them and they can afford to pay for the services. So the other ones are the ones that I need to focus on and repelling. So I need, in my personal persona, I need to be better at conveying that in the messaging that I'm putting out there, that if you're going to work with me, it's not a small investment. It's going to be a larger investment. And here's why it's going to benefit you, is because we will do all the work for you, or these are the things that you're going to need to have competency in and know how to do, and then I can help you, advise you as to what tasks and how to structure the whole thing, but you're going to have the competency to go out and make that happen. So with my personal persona, I need to bring that together so that I'm repelling the people that can't afford the investment to work with me. So in my communications and my marketing message, I need to put some more consideration into that when I'm actually start to put my messaging out for my authority acceleration formula and program. So hopefully that was of benefit and some value. So those are the three components when it comes to building your authority story. Number one is your story, or your story of struggles, or your kryptonite story. Number two are the credibility cluster. So all the things that you have credibility in, all the victories, all of the triumphs, all the accolades, all the awards that you can either directly or indirectly, relate. People can relate to. So it says a lot about your perseverance, a lot about your type of person you are, that you're delivering things on time, on budget, those sorts of things. And the third thing is your personal persona, what you want people to perceive, or how you want people to see you, so that you're going to connect with the types of people that you connect with, and you're going to repel the type of people you don't want to do business with. So that's our show for today. And I just want to thank everybody for joining me, those who stuck with me. I just want to thank everybody. And if you have any questions about any of this stuff, just let me know and type it in the chat. But other than that, this has been another great episode of the Johnny McCabe Show. And I'm just going to leave you with these closing remarks. And I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow. All right, take care. Well, thanks for joining me on today's John A. McCabe Show, where we work with entrepreneurs, business owners, authors, experts, and speakers get seen, get heard, get noticed anywhere, anytime, on any device. Now, also known as the Authority Acceleration Blueprint. Now, if you're someone who's looking to take your business to the next level and want to get some coaching advice, why not apply to be a guest on today's show? Now, for most entrepreneurs, we want to create a life of our own, create our own path, and do what we can to reach our own desired outcome, which is generally freedom. Freedom to choose what we want to do, when we want to do it, and with whom we want to do it. A life that's full of options and choices, where we worry less about money and more about the quality of time that we spend with others. Now, a great way to make that happen is to leverage other people's knowledge, time, and skill sets. Step one to reaching our freedom life is to realize that you can't do it alone. Working with a coach or being involved in masterminds is a great way for entrepreneurs to move their business forward. Now, a coach can help you shorten the time frame to get you from where you are to where you want to be, while being part of a mastermind is meant to bring entrepreneurs together, all with the goal of helping each other move forward with their business. Now, the second step to creating the life you envision for yourself as an entrepreneur is to implement systems into your business so you can streamline your operations, leverage systems, and free up your time to focus on your family, having fun, and the highest leverage activities in your business. You know, the activities that get you the biggest return on your time invested, the ones that truly make you money. Now, sometimes we just don't know what systems we need, how to implement those systems, or even have the time to find out what is needed. Now, working with a coach or consultant that understands, uses, and specializes in systems that can streamline your operations can help save you time, aggravation, and make you a lot more money. Now, for example, having a system or strategy that allows you to leverage just 15 hours of your time into enough repurposed content to get you seen, get you heard, get you noticed anywhere, anytime, on any device is a great example of leverage. Now, just imagine a system where you invest just 15 hours of your time, and the end result is you're a #1 best-selling author. You have enough content that's going to get you seen, get you heard, get you noticed anywhere, anytime, on any device. You have a successful podcast. Now, it's automatically attracting more attention, giving more value, and generating more leads, which enables you to attract an abundance of paying customers. Now, this is also known as the Authority Acceleration Blueprint. Now, to find out more about the Authority Acceleration Blueprint coaching program or mastermind, then contact me via my website at johnamccabe.com or connect with me through my show's Facebook page. Now, again, thank you for joining us on today's show, and I look forward to seeing you on tomorrow's show when I have another great guest on discussing their business and accelerating their authority. So have yourself an amazing day, and I look forward to seeing you again real soon.